Welcome to Switched on IT. This is Barry. You're on Power TV Australia. This is the show where we talk about IT issues. Normally on the show we would have Doug from Sydney from Oz Hosting, but Doug today is overseas at a wedding. So we have a special guest with us today, and they'll be there now. Okay. We have Ray with us as usual. Good morning, Ray.
Good evening, Barry.
Yes, it's your evening, that's right. We also have Roger Klaasen with us from Computer Troubleshooters here in Toowoomba. Good morning, Roger. You are actually in morning.
Yes, good morning, Ray, and good morning, Barry.
Okay, now, Roger, you're here in Toowoomba. You're the owner of Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep. Okay. Now, because Roger is coming from his business, you're probably going to hear during this, I think that I remember you saying you have a customer who's just walked in, so we're probably going to hear some customer noise in the background, correct?
Yes, there'll be some not strange noises, but not the things you're not used to hearing anyway.
Yeah, right. Okay, well that's all right. Now, Roger, you're going to talk to Ray a little bit about your business. So I'm going to turn this over to the two of you now, and let's talk about. One thing that we should tell people is that Computer Troubleshooters is the major sponsor of the show that you are watching, Switched on IT. Computer Troubleshooters have been a sponsor of this station for quite a while. They're now the major sponsor of this show. So thank you very much, Roger, for that. This show comes to you courtesy of your business. Now, I'll turn this over to you now. Roger and Ray, take it away, please.
Thank you, Barry, and welcome, Roger, to the show.
Thanks, Ray. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, so to kind of start off, tell us a little bit about what your background is and what Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West does for individuals and businesses there in Toowoomba.
Okay, well, Computer Troubleshooters is a franchise system that started off in Australia. There are computer troubleshooters in the United States and, for that fact, all around the world. And I'm lucky to be part of that organisation because it provides support, it provides programming, it provides a lot of things that as an independent you can't really get a hold of, so to speak. So as a global organisation, which I'm part of, it has a bigger impact than just an individual on his own. That's one of the things that attracted me to the franchise. Now, having said that, the businesses themselves are autonomous. We can do whatever we want in our businesses. We can concentrate on, vertical integration into businesses, like we could select doctors, for example, concentrate on those, get the IT up and running for them, or we can do horizontal integration and just go across the board. We tend to be a bit horizontal, not specialising in one major field, but we cover a lot of businesses and home users as well. We have a few staff members that concentrate on, certain aspects, and they specialise in a certain area as well. So that's basically Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West.
Wonderful. That's great. Thanks for the overview. And what I thought we would do in this conversation is kind of outline some of the common issues that you see your customers experiencing and some of the things that they can do that might be, simple, easy fixes for those things before they give you a call. And that way, it makes everybody's life easier. So what are some of the big ticket items that you frequently hear people experiencing in their computer or mobile world?
Well, look, one of the biggest things that we're finding today is the lack of speed in computers. And what we generally find with that are two things. One, because of the advances made in technology, people are hanging on to their computers longer than they probably should. So we still see XP machines out there. We still see a lot of other things. So the technology has changed so much that the speed of the actual processors and the hard drives and the CPUs can't keep up with the technology that's available today. So one of the most common problems that we do find is when people bring their PCs in that's running slow, for example, is simply that the hard drive itself is slow. And the technology today, the cost of solid state hard drives has dropped dramatically. So we suggest to our clients that they may think of going onto a solid state hard drive. So we transfer all their data onto a solid state hard drive, and happy days. So that's one of the reasons. There are other things as well. We get phone calls. Excuse me. We get phone calls all the time from home users and business users about quite a few problems, and we can go through a few of those now, and just the very simple ways that people can actually fix it themselves before they give us a call.
Absolutely. Let's tick them off. So let's start from the top. What are some of the major things that, say, the Windows 7 folks are dealing with in terms of low space and dealing with how to get the low space issue kind of dealt with here?
Okay, well, Windows 7 is, as you know, it's supported up until 2020, in which time it'll be going the way of XP. So it's the old version of Windows now, which is quite ironic because it's a good platform. But at the moment, we tend to find that what happens is low disk space, too much data on the hard drive, and there are a few things we can do with Windows 7. If you consider purging your old programs off, if you go to the Start button and hit the Control panel, for example, you can open the programs and features and look through what programs are actually there and just uninstall them, not just delete them, because deleting them doesn't get rid of all the bits and pieces in the registry and so forth. And then once you've done that, you completely remove and uninstall it. There are certain steps that you can take further on because there's always little bits and pieces left in there. But that's basically the best step to start that process. So get rid of all those old, games that used to play 100 years ago, not 100 years ago, but, a few years ago. And, old programs and other things as well. And the other thing too that we find as well is with Windows 7, it just loves creating temporary files, and over the time, these temporary files build up and, they take up a lot of disk space as well. So what we do to get rid of those is, and it never removes them on its own. So we have to give it a prompt, to get rid of it. You take out the trash yourself. Just once again, you go to the Start button. You simply type in the search box, disk cleanup, and that will get you into a graphic user interface that you can select the drive that you want to clean and simply tick off the boxes. You want to delete the temporary files, you want to delete this, and you want to delete that. Just tick all those boxes as you go and then hit Start, and it'll do the job for you. So, you don't need any fancy software to do that. It's pretty basic.
That's great advice. And I think, it's one of those things where people sometimes just don't know that this system is creating all of this background, garbage, and a little bit of maintenance, sweeping up that garbage helps speed up the system. So I really appreciate that. Yeah. That's great.
Exactly. Look,
let's talk a little bit about. Oh, no. Go ahead.
Sorry. The other thing that we do get quite often is certificate warnings come up on the machine. People say to me, well, we keep getting blocked by the web page. The bank won't let us in. This and that will happen. Now, we had an interesting case just the other day where Centrelink, which is our Australian government, social security thing, wouldn't let a customer in on one particular PC. So we had to basically go in and check the time, and it was out by 10 minutes, which was enough to stop the security of the actual, program from working. So the best thing is just to check the time, make sure that it's up to date, and have it, within the exact time. And the way to do that too is to set it for automatic internet timing, and that way you can, avoid that issue. So that's another
Right. So it's going out to the world server, checking the time, and then matching the time to it.
Exactly. So you'll always have an accurate time. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. You also talked about in our planning notes about video performance, and that on Windows 7, sometimes people are dealing with video performance. What are some tips for people in that regard?
Well, look, the thing is, what often happens with 7 and 8 as well, is that the image itself goes a bit blurry. And that's because Windows itself tries to get the best performance for your PC. And what happens then is that when you go back to your normal function, it actually doubles the size of the image. You know, when you're playing a game, when you're watching a video, when you're doing something, it actually doubles the size, so you get better viewing, better performance. So when you go back to your regular programming, so to speak, your regular computer desktop, it remains blurry. So to sharpen that, you simply just go into, a minute. Sorry, you just have to edit that bit out.
Yep, that's all right.
Okay, so to get back to the way it is, you go to your favorite program, and you right-click on the application shortcut, and then you go into the compatibility tab. And in there, you've got, you turn off the display scaling on the high DPI settings. And that will prevent the actual program from doing this scaling in the first place, which means that then eliminates the problem of when you restart your PC, that eliminates the problem then of having the blurry text. And that is quite a common thing with having blurry text on computers. People think their video cards are not working, you know, and there's other problems as well that, you know, really aren't there. It's just Windows trying to be the best efficient program it can, but failing to put it back to the way it was. So that's that one.
Absolutely. So let's, since you segued into Windows 8, what are some of the common issues that people are experiencing with Windows 8, and what can they do to resolve them?
Yeah, look, Windows 8 is an interesting program. It is not a favorite of a lot of IT people. And you know, I won't go
it's the one without this. It's the one without the start button, right? At least until 8.1.
we won't bag the product, but we noticed that there's Windows 7, Windows 8, no Windows 9. They went straight to 10. Excuse me. The reason for that is that they saw a need, and Windows 8 wasn't performing as well as they thought it was. The customer satisfaction was 100%. So they thought that they might go straight to Windows 10. And in which case they had a lot of development on board, and so Windows 10 is great. Now, going back to Windows 8, however, one of the most common problems with Windows 8 is starting up and the speed startup. So what we have to do is we type in the search bar msconfig, you know, which is quite a common sort of a diagnostic tool. You run the app and you click on the services tab inside the msconfig. You have a look, and you tick the box that says hide all Microsoft services. And you just look at the list of programs that are on there and turn off the ones that aren't, you know, necessary at startup, and, you know, just delete all the ones that you think you don't need, untick them, and your machine should start up a lot faster.
Great. So how about the laptop touchpad? You said that there was an issue with folks.
Look, with Windows 8, it's quite interesting. Every now and then we have people coming into the workshop saying, oh, I don't know what's wrong with my touchpad. It's not working anymore. It doesn't happen. But there's often a thing that happens with the touchpads themselves, where the actual program itself that runs it gets turned off. So to do that, all you need to do is press the Windows key and the C button at the same time, and which gets you into the settings, and then you go change this PC, change PC settings, and then you go to the PC devices and mouse and touchpad, which is in that little section there, and make sure that it's enabled, because often it gets disabled for whatever reason. A program might disable it or whatever, but that's quite common on Windows 8. We see that a fair bit of time. And also on the keypad on the laptop, is also a on-off button for the keypad itself, which a lot of people don't know about. They accidentally touch it, and my keypad's not working anymore. So that's another feature you just got to be careful of.
So what about on Windows 8, the infamous confirmation box?
Oh yeah, well, what happens there with the confirmation box is, well, as Windows 7 users, if you've gone from Windows 7 to Windows 8, you would have noticed that unlike in Windows 7, Windows 8 deletes the file moves in the recycle bin without warning. So it goes straight into your recycle bin. So that's great for power users because it saves them power users, you know, those that use their machines quite often. But if you aren't comfortable with that happening at that time, you can turn it off simply by going into the recycle bin, clicking on the properties, and turn on the display delete confirmation dialog, which brings you up that dialog box with saying, do you want to move this item to the recycle bin instead of automatically doing it? But some people don't realize it's happening. And I think it's a good step for people just to know what's happening to their files. We had a case of a lady came in, she said, oh, look, I've accidentally deleted my files and I don't know where they are. If that step was in place, she would have known that it went to the recycle bin. So, you know, that would have saved her a lot of angst and grief as well. So that's another little tip for users.
Absolutely. So any more Windows 8 items before we move on to Windows 10?
Well, Windows 8, like I said, it sort of tends to run a little bit slower on machines. So again, the best fix for that is to seriously thinking about getting a solid state hard drive. I keep going on about the solid state hard drive. We should have a session one day about the virtues of solid state hard drives versus mechanical hard drives that are at the moment. Because there are pluses and minuses for both, as all technologies. But the fact that the price of them are coming down to be pretty well equal, similar anyway, the prices are coming down to where it's affordable for every user to have a solid state hard drive. And the speed performance, you know, at least doubles, if not, you know, quadruples the speed of the PCs or the speed of the, you know, data retrieval. So look, Windows 8 is a good system. I still love XP. I've got to admit, it was the one that, you know, I sort of raised with. But unfortunately, it's like having a Nokia phone and an iPhone. If somebody said to me, which one do you want? Do you want the Nokia or the iPhone? Nokia can make a phone call. I'm not bagging Nokia, but the Nokia can make a phone call. But the iPhone, you can do, you know, your emails, your texting, whatever. That's the sort of way I relate to people. You know, what is the difference between XP and Windows 10? So, you know, that's just the way to go. So, yeah.
Okay, guys, that's been really interesting. Now, I know that you want to talk about Windows 10, but we'll take a break. And when we come back after the break, we'll continue and talk about Windows 10. You're on Switched On IT. We're going to take a break now. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Is your computer driving you crazy? Is it slow or doing things you didn't expect? Well, having a computer crash or pick up a virus can be a complete nightmare for a business, so having someone local you can trust to get you up and running again is critical. The dedicated team of experts at Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West will put your mind at ease from the moment you walk through the door and will get your problem solved in no time with a 100% guarantee on their work. Laptops, tablets, PCs, whatever you have, Roger and the team can fix it for you. So visit them today at 236 Bridge Street, Newtown. Well, can't get in to see them? No worries. Just call them on 4642 1331 and they'll come to you. Toowoomba Troubleshooters, Toowoomba West, on the web at www.computertroubleshooters.com.au/Toowoomba West.
Too much debt? Fixed. Too much stress? Fixed. Too many hassles? Fixed. Central Liaison has helped thousands of Australians with too much debt. You have options, so call today on 0409 344 070.
At the Gale Walker Swim School, they focus on providing you and your family with unique experiences in aquatic education. Let them introduce your youngest family member to a magical world in their water awareness program. The journey continues through a program of basic learning dedicated to safety, survival skills, and ongoing stroke development. Gale Walker Swim School offers coaching, adult lessons, aquasize, a self-paced all-over body and cardio workout to maintain strength, mobility, and flexibility, catering for all ages, fitness levels, and swimming abilities, plus warm water walking. They are an NDIS-approved swim provider. Gale Walker Swim School is located at 10609 New England Highway, Highfields. Phone them on 4696 8908 or log on to galewalkerswimschool.com. The Criterion Hotel, conveniently located on the corner of Warrego Highway and Mile Street, Dalby, prides itself on having the best customer service and a great atmosphere. They offer a full range of dining, regular promotions and entertainment, with every NRL match shown live on the big screen in the beer garden and throughout the venue. The Cry is renowned for its steakhouse and for cooking some seriously good steaks. You can dine in a relaxed environment in the bistro in front of a blazing wood fire, or there's the beer garden and the back deck. Get comfortable and enjoy your time at the Cry. Call them today on 07 4662 3303. Email lisa@criterionhoteldalby.com.au or visit their website at criterionhoteldalby.com.au. Looking for exposure for your business or event? Take your business, community event, training seminar, sports fixture, function, concert or exhibition to the world with Power TV Australia and Power FM's unique live outside simulcasts. We can turn your next local event into a worldwide sensation with stunning live pictures, interviews, graphics and live action replays for a fraction of the usual cost. From a festival or sports fixtures to a corporate or charity event, Power TV Australia and Power FM can take your message live to our local and national viewers and listeners. Invite the world to your party by contacting Barry today on 0431 390 920 or email programming@powertvaustralia.com for a quote.
So welcome back to Switched On IT. I'm here with Roger Klaasen from Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West. And we were talking before the break about Windows 7 and Windows 8, some of the troubleshooting issues and tips and tricks to make them speed up and work better. And now we're going to talk a little bit about Windows 10 and some of those tips and tricks that we can use to make that operating system, the newest operating system out of Microsoft Windows, work better. So, Roger, what are some of the big issues that Windows 10 users face today, and how can they overcome them?
Okay, well, first of all, I'll explain that Windows 10 is probably, according to Microsoft, the last version of Windows that they will ever make. What they're going to do now, instead of coming out with a new version, is continually update it. This in itself presents us with a bit of a problem here in Australia, at least, because we've got a lot of wireless connections and so forth that don't have too much data. Windows 10 itself is, when they do their major updates, is about a 3.5 gigabyte download, which for a lot of people, they've got limited data, which in Australia is an issue. So there is a way to turn off the updating process, which is, if you're on a metered connection, you just simply turn on the metered connection, and it doesn't actually download that update. Because what can happen is people's data gets used up because it gets halfway through the update, stops, and then restarts again. So that's one of the biggest issues here in Australia with it. Most people have unlimited data and whatever, and it's not a real big issue. But we do see it as a common problem in Australia where people come to us saying, we've had 5 gigabytes of data, that's all we're allocated, and it's been used up. We only use it for emails, we don't use it for anything else. What's going on? We think someone's stealing our data, when in fact it's not. It's just Microsoft doing their updates. So that's one of the problems we do face here in Australia. I'm not too sure if it's the same problem overseas, but there are ways to turn that off. Another common problem too is when people do come in with their computers, back in Windows 7, Windows 8, we used to be able to do a system restore to take the computer back. We're not time travelers, we're not magicians. We don't actually put the computer back to where it was. But Windows used to do what they call a system restore, which means that you can take the computer back to where it was as far as the system files go to a previous time. So let's say yesterday. if the problem occurred today. And that often when people come in with viruses, it's a very, very handy tool. But Windows 10 turns that off in preference to file history. So to simply do that, if you type in create a restore point in Cortana, we're talking about now, which is the Windows 10 version of the search box, then you just simply type in create a restore point, and that'll give you up then the old restore, system restore. And then you simply scroll through and click on system to highlight it, configure it the way you want it, select your hard drive, whichever one you want to do, turn on protection and have maximum usage. Around about 5 gigabytes, most machines can cope with 5 gigabytes of restore points, which gives you a selection of restore points. And then simply click on apply, and that basically turns the system restore feature back on, which for a lot of people can save a lot of time, a lot of hassle, and more importantly, a lot of money.
Absolutely, so, especially if they actually did delete something,
Yeah, it's a great way to, if they delete a program that they really wanted, and it sort of plays with the registry files and does a few things, it brings it back to where it was previously. It's not actually a way of getting data back. That's a different thing again, because it only basically does the system files. But there are ways. Shadow copy, for example, is a feature on there. It can recover back previous versions of Windows, as well across all the different types of Windows. So there are ways to recover your data back as well if you do get it.
What's your next tip for folks with Windows 10?
Okay, again, slowing up the PCs, apart from the solid state hard drive, which I do recommend. One of the things that happens is the users over time add new programs, add different things, and they all want to start up when Windows starts up. So you get this list of programs that are basically wanting to take over your CPU and wanting to take over your hard disk and wanting to take over your RAM, which are all the components of a computer. And they slow your PC startup down. Having data on your PC doesn't necessarily slow it down, but the actual files that, you sort of see the machine start up, and next minute the next icon comes in, and then the next icon, and then the next icon. It's just loading up those programs, which takes it slow. So the simple way to do that is simply type in system configuration into Cortana search bar again. Open the app, go to services tab, which is one of the tabs in there. Hide all the Microsoft services, because you don't want to start turning those off, because your machine will stop working. And then turn off all the programs you don't need. Like you might get, if you're not a Skype user, for example, and nothing wrong with Skype, but you might turn that off. Or if there's certain programs that you have on there, like a video program, or whatever the program is that you don't need, just simply untick those. So when you restart the machine again, those programs won't actually start up. You've got to manually start them up. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. It's a good tip just to make your computer run a bit faster. The other thing also we do find is junk files, and they actually create a lot of problems. So there is still an old tool in there that still uses, and if you go to disk cleanup, if you type that in the search bar, again you open that app up, and you select on the drive to clean, normally the C drive, for example, and then it'll go through and it'll give you a selection of things you want to delete, like the temporary files, and do a few certain things to actually clean up the hard drive, and you click on OK, and it'll just do it for you. And that's a feature of Windows 10. You don't have to buy any programs. You don't have to do anything special to clean it up. There are programs out there that will do it, but that's the way to do it. So.
Fantastic. So we have 2 more tips to go for Windows 10. What's the issue with the pop-up ads in Microsoft Edge?
Right. Well, with all the Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, and everything else, there are a lot of pop-ups that happen. But in Microsoft Edge, it's quite a simple thing. That's the preferred program from Microsoft these days, to be using your internet browser. And there's a lot of companies that do use it and will only use it, and a lot of companies, a lot of web pages now don't actually recognize Internet Explorer because it's older technology and it wasn't as secure. So in Edge, what we do is we go to the dots in the top right-hand corner of the app. I can see it on my computer, but you guys can't see it. Click on the Settings tab and scroll down until you get to View Advanced Settings. And in there is block pop-ups. Make sure that's turned on because it's the pop-ups that actually do the damage. And Microsoft do actually do a good anti-pop-up. You can buy programs as well, but why? You know, if it's a part of Microsoft and it works well, you may as well utilize that. So we found that in there as well, as a tip for people.
Fantastic. And last but not least, you talk about the idea of getting DVDs to play. How do you get a DVD to play on a Windows 10 machine?
Okay. Look, we've had a few machines in over time, and especially lately, where they say, "Oh, look, it's fantastic, but we can't play DVDs in the DVD player." And we simply say to them, "Okay, well, go to a site and download a free DVD playing app." And I'm not singling out any particular one in particular, but ones we use is put on there a GOM, the GOM player or VLC. Now there is a very, very good site that you can go on called nonite.com that we utilize as well, because it'll load those programs on without all the extra little bits and pieces that sometimes come onto your machine. So I do recommend that site for those people, and you can get that for free. They do download and work DVDs, and Microsoft also have a DVD player, but you have to pay a little bit of money for it. So there are options out there, but just remember that it doesn't come pre-installed with a DVD playing video player.
Yeah, I use VLC with great success, and
yeah, it's a great program, and it's international, it's universal, and it works. So you know, we're not advocating one program over another, but yeah, it does work. So there are free programs out there that do work.
Absolutely. So those are all great tips. So thank you very much. Before we close out, I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the things that businesses have been dealing with, and maybe some of your final parting thoughts regarding businesses who get bring your own device hardware in their business. So we call this BYOD. And so staff members and employees are bringing their own phones and tablets and even sometimes their own laptops to work to be able to use in the business. I was just curious about some of your general advice as someone who has to deal with that with your customers. What are some just general guidelines they should have regarding security and backup and maintenance of their staff or employees' personal devices?
Okay, we're talking about a few different issues here, which is a very, very interesting and relevant point that you're making. When people bring their own devices in, you've got to sort of have, I think the best thing to do is have a policy. Work out yourself what you want your staff to be able to do and what you don't want your staff to be able to do. If it's a team of 2, it's probably easier managed. But if it's a team of 30 or 40, I think then you need a solid policy to say, well, look, if you're going to bring your own devices in, here's a list of things that we need to do. From my perspective, if the larger companies I do have, we don't even allow them to use USBs because unfortunately, and I've seen this over and over again, for example, we could talk all day on this topic, by the way. If you have a USB, it's quite simple. If somebody is working at a law firm, for example, and I've seen this happen, they want to get into the law firm's database for whatever reason, for to gain an economic advantage, then they'll simply drop a USB stick outside the business. And one of the employees will walk past, see the USB stick, pick it up and say, great, I've found a USB stick. I wonder what's on it. And so the first thing they do is they plug it into the computer system. Job's done. The virus is on that computer and it's in there. So by eliminating USB control and eliminating USBs being able to function in that environment is one of the steps as preventative. Now, we're talking about bringing smartphones and whatever in. That's a little bit different because they connect to the Wi-Fi. So you have a policy in place, and my recommendation to businesses, particularly in the larger businesses with a few staff, is they must have the same antivirus protection that you require on all your machines in the shop. because in that way, you know, you've got a little bit of a grounding, a little bit of a basis for that. As far as the iPhones and that go, it's a little bit different. As you know, the policy again on use of iPhones in businesses vary as well. So my recommendation for that, particularly with laptops and so forth, is to make sure that they do have the same sort of protection that you would demand in your business anyway. And if you do have an IT company like ourselves or whatever, then have them have a look at that machine to make sure that it's, you know, it's up to specifications and it's not infected, because the worst thing to do is to have, you know, a virus come in through the back door. And just mentioning that as well, just to make sure that your business is up to date with all its antivirus and up to date with all its procedures and policies as well. We're dealing with things like crypto virus and all these mining softwares and malwares that are out there, and have a very good antivirus program that will cover your endpoint protection. So it covers everything, not just viruses, and leaves the other ones out, or, you know, specifically. So having an endpoint protection, and most importantly is backup. Backup is key. Having a couple of backups, particularly in a larger business, is most important. So I hope that sort of goes a little bit of way into answering your question.
Absolutely, yeah. In a prior episode, Doug and I talked about ransomware and some of the other types of malware, as well as crypto mining, both in the browser but also downloadable, you know, injections of crypto mining malware. And it's certainly something that business owners have to be aware of, and having strong security policies as well as backups of all of their devices is really imperative. So I think you're right on point. So that's really, really great advice. Any parting thoughts for viewers before we close out this episode of Switched on IT, Roger?
Well, you know, we talk about Windows, but there's also Apple machines as well. We can do that as well. Talk about those. They do integrate as well with the machine. And Apple is you know, one of the common misconceptions with Apple is they don't get viruses, they don't get malware, they don't get attacked. That was quite okay back in the day when there was less of them around, but now they're becoming very popular, and quite rightly so. You've also got to be on point with those. So if someone brings an Apple machine into your business and says, "Oh, look, it's fine, it doesn't get attacked by viruses and malware," no, you still have to run with the same procedures as you do with, you know, with Windows. And there's also other things like Linux-based programs as well, which we do specialize in as well. And there's a whole myriad of different programs. But the key to all this in the business environment is protection and backup. And I can't stress that enough. Backup is the key thing. And as you know, Doug is a specialist in providing online backup. So he's got perfect solutions for that as well.
Absolutely. So we'll have to have you back on the show at some point to talk about Mac OS, and maybe we'll even touch our toes in the water for those who are interested in the Linux and the Linux kernel, GNU, and all the other variations of those distributions of Unix. So I think this has been a great discussion. I'm going to turn it over to Barry.
Terrific. Thank you, guys. That's been really interesting. Roger, you also provide Office 365, I think, do you not?
Yes. Look, we provide everything that you can possibly imagine. Office 365 is a fantastic product from Microsoft. It has different levels of programs and programming, right up to the E5s, which are for corporate businesses and so forth, and premium licenses for the home users. We also provide basic level protection for the home users all the way through managed services, mini managed services contracts for the home users, where they get a little bit of protection that we put on a program called, we use Continuum as ours, and it gives us a remote monitoring tool. It gives us the ability to be able to keep an eye on your hard drive and your updates, plus provide endpoint protection with WebRoot, which gives you endpoint protection, which covers you for viruses, antivirus protection, anti-malware, anti-spyware, and so forth. But there's a myriad of other things it does as well. And you get that as well as, for the business users as well. It monitors your machines, and we've got levels of remote monitoring as well. So, yeah, we do a lot of different monitoring and programs for customers.
Terrific. Now, you're based in Toowoomba, but customers don't need to be in Toowoomba to be able to access your services, do they? You can connect to them remotely.
We've got a fantastic broadband connection, or NBN connection here, and we have customers all over the world. We have customers in Malaysia, we have customers in America, we have customers in England. And these are customers that have lived here before, that love the way we do things here at Computer Troubleshooters. And, they go overseas and we remote monitor into their machines. And it's like we're sitting in the same room with them. We can do whatever we like to manipulate their machines and get the problems fixed, as long as they can get internet, because it's a big call to go to America to get their machines working if they can't connect to the internet. But I wouldn't mind doing it if they paid for it.
Cool. All right. Well, that's terrific. Now, just tell us again, Roger, what are your contact details? How do people get in touch with you if they need an expert to fix some of their problems with their computers?
Yeah, look, we're happy to do remote into anyone's machine, but we're at 236 Bridge Street in Toowoomba, and as you can see, probably in the background there, the amount of traffic that's going past, that it's a very busy location. And our phone number here is 07, which is Queensland, 46421331, or 0407 372297, which is my personal mobile, or my work mobile. You can get me on that, or simply send us an email, which is workshop@cttwest.com.au.
Terrific. And where do they find you on the web?
Yes, if they type in Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West and do a Google search, and that it'll come up. Otherwise, it's cttoowombawest.com.au.
Terrific.
And Toowoomba's a funny one to spell. It's TOOOMBA, which is Aboriginal for the swamp.
Yes. Yes. Not much swamp around at the moment, though, is there?
We drain that out. There's a couple of nice little creeks running through Toowoomba now, which has wiped that out. But for those who don't know Toowoomba, it's a beautiful location on top of a plateau, overlooking the valley on a beautiful day, nice day. If you get up early in these cold winter days that we're experiencing now, the opposite of the other side of the world, then you can often see a sea of cloud, and it's an absolute magnificent sight to see the sun coming up. So if you're coming to Toowoomba, come on up, have a look at our beautiful scenery, and also come and say hello.
Yes, for sure. All right. That's terrific. You've been watching Switched on IT. We have had Ray from the United States and Roger from Computer Troubleshooters in Toowoomba. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you, Barry.
Thanks, guys. As I said, this has been Switched on IT. You've been watching this on Power TV Australia. We'll see you again next week.